welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here at the Ideagen Global Goals Summit. My name is Lana Wong, and I'm the founding member of the Diverse Women Moderators Bureau, Moderate the Panel. So I'm thrilled to share the stage today with this dynamic duo from AARP to talk about a pretty hot topic, AI and leading a digital-first future. So just some quick bio highlights from our esteemed speakers. Scott Frisch, COO and Executive Vice President of AARP. In his role, he has more than doubled the strategic operating reserves of AARP. He's established a $40 million investment fund for health and wellness innovation and a $60 million investment fund to accelerate research into cures for Alzheimer's and all forms of dementia. He also speaks frequently on the multi-generational workforce, age discrimination, and innovation for the 50-plus population. Sami has spent more than 20 years at AARP in senior leadership technical roles, and he's currently leading the digital transformation for AARP. He developed and led an aggressive digital strategy that has significantly grown the audience, ad revenue, and membership for AARP. So lucky to share the stage, and also I see a few younger faces out there. So for those of you who may not have had the benefit of getting a special invitation in the mail, let me just tell you about AARP. AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that's dedicated to empowering people, Americans over 50, to live their best lives. So another fun fact, I don't know if you know, but the demographic of the over 50s is the largest and fastest growing demographic in the world. So this is a global megatrend, the aging population, and represents almost a quarter of the world's population. That's 2 billion people. So really the question for all of us here, for organizations and all the stakeholders that are here at the Ideagen Summit, is really to ask, how can we really harness the benefits of AI and technology innovation to really support this growing and critical population? So thankfully, we have experts here to dig into that. Let's just start, Scott, with a very general, broad question. How is AARP really thinking about and using AI in this fast-changing environment?
Well, thank you, Lana. To clarify that we have one expert.
There are no experts. Right? There are no experts in this space.
But, so at AARP, we have been sort of at the center of the direct mail world, which we'll touch on in a minute, for the last 60 years. And AI is in the news every day, it seems. There's some new articles, some new company coming out with some way they're using it. It's just in the news all the time. And when we think about AI at AARP, we think about how will AI, whether it's generative, whether it's predictive, how will that help us really achieve our social mission to empower people to choose how they live as they age? And AI is another tool to do that, whether it helps us from an efficiency standpoint, whether it helps us with our ability to give our consumers, our members and non-members, or prospective members, as I like to call them, a greater ability to interact with us, to utilize our services. But for me, I think about AI as a force multiplier that's allowing organizations, it doesn't matter if you're B2B, B2C, a nonprofit, whatever your structural way you are organized, it should be able to help us, all of us, deliver whatever our product is to whichever part of the consumer base that we're trying to target and help or service. So for me, it sort of wraps up the next level of the next dimension of helping us achieve our mission. Just like the internet was, 30 years ago. I mean, it's really no different. It's that next generation, the next level.
Great. And so in your role with membership, what does AI really mean in practice for your millions of members?
Yeah, I think it gives us, as Scott said, it's the force multiplier ability to bring our value in a much more instantaneous way and repackage our information or our value to consumers and our services in a way that's much more intuitive. I think a lot of organizations, us included, somewhat struggle with how to personalize at scale and bring our value to every consumer. You all expect, people in the audience and people and consumers in general, expect every brand they spend time with to know them better. Your time is valuable, and it's an investment that you're making in a relationship with a brand, and you expect a highly personalized, high-touch experience with those brands. And if you can't deliver that, you're like 2 seconds away from being obsolete in this world. So from our perspective is looking at leveraging AI in all its ways as an ecosystem, as a stack to deliver, as Scott said, on our mission and deliver our value in a highly scalable and personalized manner, and hopefully drive that emotional connection to the brand and build that loyalty to AARP and the value that we bring.
And the reason why that's important is because every one of us in this room guaranteed has ordered something from Amazon. And Amazon has set that consumer expectation, not just when you're buying online, it's the delivery and the speed and the intuitiveness and the use of it. They've set the expectation of the consumer that your entire life and how you interact with others in a digital way should have the same speed, efficiency, usefulness, and intuitiveness as you do when you're buying something on Amazon.
Right, so and to that point, so you've talked about this digital transformation, but AARP, as most of us know, has been really successful in that traditional direct mail environment. So what is this transformation really looking like, down to brass tacks for AARP?
Well, let me back up a little bit, and then you can sort of add it to answer Lana's question. So when we think about, people say, well, you're transforming into a digital organization, or a couple of years ago, everyone wanted to be a tech company, even though you weren't a tech company. We at AARP have been, and I've been there 18 years, Sami's been there 20. So we've seen a lot of change over the years. But we recognized about 5 or 6 years ago that our legacy systems and how we communicate, that allow us to communicate to our consumers, our internal systems, were built for a different age, right? They were built in a direct mail environment, and we needed to think about, and to use my Amazon or my JetBlue that I've used so many times, to have that same level of consumer experience, our underlying technology needed to change. So you can't give Sami the next service or program that we think he should have, while having the technology to deliver it. So we're in our fifth year of our what we call our digital business platform transformation, which is changing the underlying technology to allow us to be, and I'm going to use this, in quotes, more like an Amazon, delivering what the consumer wants, when they need it, in the exact time they need it. So that has led us to where we are today, and how do we think about a digital transformation of AARP? And I think Sami, who is one of the leaders in this group, to help us do that, can add the current state.
Yeah, I think we've come a long way over the last 5 years, thanks to investments by the organization, leadership from Scott and the rest of our executive team, in terms of, we've come from a business model where we knew 100% of our audience. We knew their address, we knew where they lived, we could send them mail. If they responded to a piece of mail, we knew what to react. Consumer is vastly in charge in the consumer experience with the interactions they have with for-profit, not-for-profit entities. And our ability to react in real time to consumer expectations is really where we've invested significantly. So our ability to understand the totality of the consumer relationship, our ability to act on that using whether it's machine learning or predictive models, is really where we've made significant progress. And I can tell you over half of our new members joined digitally. So while I still think we're the best direct marketer in the country, probably in the world, we have made some significant strides in growing our email channel, our SMS channel, our online app, push notifications, the engagements. We've doubled the number of monthly active uniques in our app. So we've made some progress. Scott would like a lot more progress, and we're working on that. But I think we've made significant strides, and we've learned from other brands. And to Scott's point, consumers don't say AARP is a not-for-profit company, so I'll set the bar a little lower. The bar is as high as it can go because it's set by expectations of the best experience you have in the marketplace, and that's what the expectation consumers have of AARP.
And I think the issue a lot of companies face, ours included, that are, I mean, we're a 65-year-old organization, right? We don't have storefronts. We don't have physical, well, we have a couple of physical locations, but again, relatively speaking, we don't. So how do we think about delivering our programs and our services for the audience that we service, the 50 plus, in a way that's building products and services meant to be delivered in a digital way, which is different than putting something on the website and saying, hey, go look at it. So when you think about, and we're almost in the opposite of, let's say, so using, again, sticking with Amazon, for example, they were a digital first organization. And then they got into having some Amazon stores, kiosks, airports. They got into grocery stores. So we're sort of the opposite of that, where we're trying to think about how do we maintain our in-person programming in local communities, which we do roughly 10,000 events a year in person across the country.
Amazing.
Thank you. While also trying to deliver our services to an audience that may be different today than it was 15 years ago.
Even 5 years ago.
Even 5 years ago. So, and you think about our market, there's 115 million roughly people over the age of 50. And 50 to what, 105, I'm not sure what the oldest person in this country is. That's our audience. And someone who's 90 thinks about what they want and how they want to consume that differently than someone who's 50 or even under 50. And so it's a difficult model where we're trying to provide offerings and services and programs and relevance to, making AARP relevant in people's lives when you're cutting across a, call it 60-year age spectrum.
Yeah, no, impressive, impressive.
Difficult.
I mean, in terms of this rollout to your audiences, you talked about all this progress in these past 5 years. Can you share what your vision for the next 5 years?
I think what we would like to see is to bring every piece of value that we have in our organization to every single member or prospective member, I like prospective members as well, in a way that is so relevant to them that we become indispensable in terms of, not because of them wanting to belong to AARP, but because they think AARP enhances the way they live their lives, that we bring value and solutions to them that make their lives better. And I think that's really critical for us. Rather than thinking of customer lifetime value is what does the consumer bring to the company, is what do we give the consumer in such a way that they want to maintain that relationship with us over time. So I think platforms like AI allow us to really slice the AARP value proposition for you. And then enhance that over time as your relationship with us grows, as we better understand your wants and needs as you go through life transitions. Our ability to intuitively understand that and deliver that value to you in context, leveraging machine learning and AI is really where we think we need to be, and deliver that in a much more intuitive consumer user interface, right? So some of our user interfaces, while on the phone, we're very good on mobile, we're very good on the web, but I think natural language and is a way to go. But also I think in the future, we'll be dealing with your own personal AI. So we have to actually be ready to actually deal with your own personal AI as well as the consumer. So I think those are going to be some of the challenges we face as we go forward.
Well, speaking of those challenges, I'm sure we've all read the kind of doomsday predictions of AI as well as the utopian kind of AI dream scenarios. So how are you all trying to really balance that operational governance risk with this enormous potential that AI provides?
Well, first of all, it's a great question because there is no single answer for everybody. Every company has their own level of risk tolerance or their risk appetite. But at AARP, we think about sort of, let's do this in stages. Let's understand what AI can do and can't do today, because that's going to change tomorrow, right? But we've essentially come, and we've established a working group to create a set of governance rules and training for the organization, and we're evolving as things change. But the centerpiece of our governance is to ensure that there's the human in the loop phrase, right, which you read about in the all over the news. That is a key component, right? Because it's important. If we look at ChatGPT when it came out, it was current through what, September of 2021?
Something like that,
right? Well, just for fun, we were planning a trip to Chicago, and we put it in there, and we said, provide an itinerary for 3 days in the city of Chicago in the middle of July. And it came up with this great itinerary for 3 days. But 3 of the restaurants we recommended were no longer in business. So that human in the loop piece is extremely important. And I'm probably going to date myself now, and I realize that what I'm about to say is nowhere near the capability of what AI has. But I do remember when Excel came out, okay? And I am an accountant by trade. And the partners at the firm, one of the firms is in here where I worked, didn't know how to use a computer, didn't know Excel, didn't understand Excel. And they would say, yeah, you go ahead and use that, but the output is only as good as what you put into the Excel formula. So if you missed a piece of the formula, your entire thing's going to be wrong. So you still need to check it. Now, granted, that's a really tactical, outdated reference, but it's the same thing with AI if you think about it, using my example for an itinerary to Chicago. So the human in the loop is really the basis of our governance. And our risk is, and basically in our risk model as well, we still need to understand how we're going to use it, what the capabilities are, and as that understanding grows, our risk and governance model will change as well.
Yeah, I think the alignment with our reputation, with our brand values, with the promise that we make to our consumers, we want to ensure every piece of content, value, or service that we generate, whether it's generated by a human or by a machine, lives within those parameters, right? There are legal frameworks some of you have to live within. There are values that you have at your company. There are commitments you make into your consumers. And irrespective whether that's an employee or a partner or an agency or a piece of machine that's producing that value or that service, you still want it to fit those parameters. And I think having a human in the loop is a good way to ensure that level of transparency, that level of accountability and responsibility, that we leverage in capabilities the right way to really produce services that we can put our brand, ultimately behind, because that's the number one thing that we have is the value of our brand and the trust that our consumers have in the brand. We take that very seriously. So human in the loop is a big piece, but I think the level of QA or validation will shrink over time. I think as we build models and machines that really understand our values, really understand the parameters of risk that we have in the organization, our commitments to consumers and to society as a whole, I think we will be able to reduce and improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of what we produce. But I think for the foreseeable future, I think having a human in the loop is a critical element.
And that goes for both generative AI, which is all, everything we talk about, but predictive AI we've been using for years.
Right.
And it's evolved over time. But even with predictive AI, the models that it produces are built by humans.
Correct. For now.
For now. That's true, for now. And then I start to think about, the Terminator movies, and I get really nervous. But for now, that QA, that quality assurance, the models is only good as the input.
Yeah, I think we have to build trust with any new capability or any new technology, building trust with our consumers, with our staff, with our partners is really critical. And as long as we continue to do that, I think we can avoid the Terminator scenario.
So as we're looking forward to this AI-powered digital future, what do you both find the most exciting about what's ahead?
You want to take that, Sami?
Sure. I'll tell you from a personal perspective, never have to call a utility company to fix something and have my personal AI take care of that, schedule my car maintenance, just have my car driven there. That would be fantastic, right? So I think there's a lot of mundane things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis that you could just delegate. And maybe not even delegate, it'll just do it for you, right? That would be fantastic. But I also think I'd like to be positive about it. I think if you think about societal bias, there's a lot written about, AI is this, AI's got this wrong, it hallucinates. That's all true, but truly it's a reflection of who we are as a society. And I think we don't like what we see in the mirror in a lot of cases. And I think there's an opportunity with the right kind of responsibility and accountability by organizations to create machines and AI that would ensure a more equitable, equal opportunity kind of society. And I think AI has the potential to do that. Of course, it has the doomsday scenarios as well. But I think that's what I'm most excited about. I don't think you can retrain 8 billion people, but you can make machines do the right thing if we all want them to do so.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Scott, any last words?
Yeah, I think it's an incredible opportunity, and I get excited about the things I have no idea what's going to happen or how it's going to change our lives over the next 30 years. I mean, I hate this to go back in time, but think about the world before the internet, and think about it today. That is we use the word transformation all the time. It's an overused cliche, but truly a transformational event in the creation of the internet. I mean, and if you really, I mean, my kids have no idea what I'm talking about because they grew up in this age, and everything is press a button and look at a screen and things are at their fingertips. But I think of where we are today in the artificial intelligence evolution as the next major breakthrough in a transformational event that's going to impact every single one of us everywhere in the world. That's exciting. It's a little scary, but it's pretty exciting.
I agree. Well, if we have leaders like the two of you and AARP and all the leaders that Ideagen has brought together, putting that human in the loop and ensuring that we can really harness the positive power and potential of AI, I think hopefully we're in for a good ride. So thank you all so much for joining us. My name is Lana Wong, and I am handing it back over to our Ideagen colleagues. Have a great day.
Great job. Thank you. Thank you.